Hey there, Canes and Flames fan. I am Jared Ellis, and I'm joined by Jess from Locked On Flames. And it is time to talk about some Canes and Flames potential trades. But before we get into all that, today's episode is brought to you by the lovely folks over at FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. Visit fanduel.com/locked on to get started. Now, how are you doing today? First off, Jess.
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing well, enjoying the day off, doing some house cleaning. You know how it goes.
Real adult stuff.
Yeah, real adult stuff, honestly. But we're obviously here to talk about potential trades between our respective teams. But before we dive into that, we do want to talk about what both of these teams honestly need to go after at the trade deadline. Why don't you kick us off, Jess? What do the Flames need at the trade deadline?
I think realistically, they're going to have to tighten up the back end. Their defense is something that is good on paper, and it's very like their top four are great. But the third pairing, it does seem a little leaky sometimes, and it's only natural. But I feel like defense and assuming Elias Lindholm departs, they're going to need someone for that top line and someone that can shoot and isn't afraid to shoot.
Mm-hmm.
What about the Canes?
Yeah, I feel like for the Hurricanes, it's kind of obvious, and it has been pretty much all season, and that is they need to go after a goalie at the trade deadline. It is it's been a first half. It's been a very Jekyll and Hyde first half. The first half of the season, first quarter of the season, I guess you would say. It was really rough for the Hurricanes. They looked like Swiss cheese out there
Fraudulent.
defensively.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it was rough. This was like they did not look like the team that was going into the season as the preseason Stanley Cup favorites at all. And you had Brind'amour, Stahl, and then other guys calling out, guys in the media saying that folks need to go look in the mirror. Folks aren't buying in. Stars aren't stepping up. And it took a couple games after their players only meeting, but they have since turned it around and look like the team we expected them to look like. They are just a couple points back in second place of the Metro. And Stars are playing like stars. Fetch and Aho are tearing the league up right now. But the goaltending situation has still been a question mark throughout. Obviously, Freddie Anderson has been out since the very beginning of November with his blood clotting issue. He has been cleared to skate, but there's still no timetable on when or if he'll return. Antti Ranta, he has since improved his game, but he got sent down to the AHL for a little bit. Pyotr Kochetkov, he was coming on really, really strong, really hitting his stride. And then the other night against Ducks, he gets knocked out of that game. Now he is out indefinitely in concussion protocol. Yanni Peretz is getting called, or has been called up at this point. Antti Ranta will be getting the start tonight as of when we're recording against the Penguins. So goaltending situation is rough for the Hurricanes right now. And they're really going to have to do something. And then, of course, it's a conversation every single year. They need to go out and get a true goal scorer. They have a lot of pass first guys, has improved as of late, but we've seen how it goes with this team.
Yeah, I feel like Carolina has historically been one of those teams that could always use that extra bump in goaltending. And not saying, in the past things have been as bad as they are now, but I'm kind of glad things are as bad as they are right now. That way my team can benefit from it.
Yeah. It's definitely been a weird season for them this year. Obviously, this year, as with the past few, a lot of turnover in the off season, new guys coming in, and a particular case,
I'm
someone
coming
coming
back.
back, and now he's no longer in the lineup. But yeah, we're not going to talk about him at all. But yeah, they've found their groove offensively as of
Mhm.
late. So that need for that true goal scorer isn't there as much as it would have been just a couple months ago.
Right.
Defensively, they've really found their groove. That the pairing of Dmitry Orlov and Jalen Chatfield, they have really developed some chemistry. They have, which is something I was kind of saying all along. They needed to pick Orlov a defensive partner and stick with it so they can build that chemistry and not constantly be flip flopping in and out. Because it was Orlov's first season here too. He's still getting used to everything.
Yeah, and I mean, for those who don't know, I am a Bruins fan first
Hmm.
and then Flames fan. So I got the pleasure of watching Dmitry Orlov a lot last season, and he's definitely one of the players that does need that consistency uh, because some people just don't immediately mesh with what they're working with.
Hmm.
And that I'm glad that things are working out for him in Carolina.
Yeah, yeah, it's taken a little bit for him to get going,
Mhm.
but yeah, he's gotten there, and it's definitely being enjoyable to watch. Now, on the flame side of things, yeah, you mentioned, uh, y'all's third pairing needing, someone, some work there. Now, obviously, we'll get into who on the Canes you would want, but just as a whole, is there anyone that you have your eye on that you would want the Flames to go after league wide?
Oh, league wide, that's so hard because I feel like yes, but it's so unrealistic. Like I can't
Hmm.
just be like, "Oh, Charlie McAvoy, you are now a
Yeah,
Calgary Flame," or
yeah,
Adam Fox,
yeah.
you didn't want to be a Calgary Flame, but now you
Hmm.
are one, or Cale Makar even. Like
Hmm.
there's just there's definitely better ways that they could go about
Hmm.
that than my, general manager approach, but
Hmm.
I'm just gonna say Brett Pesce, his name has been floated around a
Hmm.
lot,
Yeah.
and I'm not I don't hate that.
Yeah, I don't either, and you're bringing up him, so that feels like a perfect segue to go into who the Calgary Flames would want from the Carolina Hurricanes. But before we dive into that, I do, of course, want to tell you guys about FanDuel. Now, the NFL season, regular season, has since wrapped up, and it's playoff time now. But there's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's number one sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. And the app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet, like live same game parlays, find bets in the new Explore tab, make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, which is the best way to find popular parlays, and more. And of course, you can also bet on your favorite NHL team, whether it's the Hurricanes, the Flames, someone else. You also got NBA going on right now. MLB will be back before we know it. Time flies these
Mhm.
days. So visit fanduel.com/locked on and make your first bet a layup. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. Now, Jess, you just mentioned Brett Pesce, and that was one that I will be talking about later on in a return for the Calgary Flames as well. But what? Why do you want Brett Pesce? I mean, obviously that's kind of a dumb question. Of course, I know why. Yeah, he's a great player. He's a great just person to have in your organization as well. But you know, elaborate
Yeah, I
as I
mean,
blow out my mic.
I think obviously, like you said, great guy, great player,
Mhm.
but with this is me going off the assumption that they trade Noah Hannafin.
Mhm.
This, even though it's probably not where things are leaning at this moment, we're just, again, hypotheticals. But I mean, even if it's not hypothetical,
Mhm.
no, whatever. Noah Hannafin doesn't get traded. Brett Pesce, you're still more than welcome in this organization.
Mhm.
I think that he's He's only 29, I believe, and has 2 years left on his deal. So that would be pretty beneficial, I would say, for the Flames because they aren't looking at, getting any older than they already are. And it's not a rental. You do get that extra year with it too. Did I lie? Did Cap Friendly lie to me?
Yeah, I think he's on an expiring one, Jess.
Oh, shoot. Well, Cap Friendly. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that says 24-25.
Oh,
He's
wow. Who am I
he's a
thinking?
UFA.
Okay. I'm thinking of Brady Shea. I'm sorry.
I mean, I'll take him too. That's fine. He was gonna be
Mhm.
another player I brought up, but, no, I think Brett Pesce is, again, culture is something that is so important in the Flames locker room, and I've never heard anything bad about Brett Pesce. In fact, it's
Yeah.
always been the opposite, that he is someone that, a leader, and he brings those intangibles that coaches love, and if he can do what he does in Carolina, in Calgary, things would go great for him.
Mhm. Yeah, Brett Pesce, he's definitely one that has been floated around in trade rumors really since the offseason, because of his contract status of it coming up soon and him wanting to go one particular way with it, the Hurricanes not necessarily wanting to commit to that. So yeah, he's definitely one that I think is definitely gonna be on the table. We haven't heard much about it really since kind of after like the first month of the season. It pretty much all the talk of that died down just because they're focused on the season at that point. So we haven't really heard much about it, good or bad, which
Right.
could either be good or bad. Kind of don't know. But just kind of operating on where we're at, it was very much looking like things were getting close and they weren't getting close. Kind of like the whole Vladimir Tarasenko deal. It looked like that was almost about to be a lock to happen. Then he fires his agent and then goes to Ottawa. It is just one of those things. It was so much back and forth through the offseason, not knowing what was going to happen.
Mhm.
Is he just going to get traded? Are they going to get something done? So, yeah, he's one I could definitely one of the guys I could definitely see being on the table for sure, potentially getting moved this
Do you
offseason. Go ahead.
Oops. I was gonna say, do you see any of the forwards that are, this year or next year,
Yes.
coming up on, potentially being traded? Because
Yeah.
who?
I could obviously a guy like Sebastian Aho, Andrei Svechnikov, those
Yeah.
guys aren't getting touched at all. But kind of the biggest name would be Teuvo Teravainen,
Yes.
because he is on an expiring deal. His production has kind of been up and down over the past couple years. Obviously, he has dealt with injury, but yeah, he's just one of those guys, he's getting older too. Would the Hurricanes be willing to commit to him long term as they were some other guys? So he's one I could definitely see being on the table because especially whether it's a trade with the Flames or someone else, if you want to get good, you got to give good. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's something that I think a lot of folks are going to have to realize now, especially with the team being in the position that it's in. You're not a fire sale at the deadline anymore like you were 10 years ago. This is a team that is looking to contend, and if you want to get that next piece, whether it be Elias Lindholm or someone on another team, you're gonna have to give up good to get a good player, and
Mhm.
depending on that player you're going to get, you may have to give up a couple good players as well.
Yeah, and I think realistically for the Flames, what they're looking for is either a roster player that can obviously jump in immediately or a high-end prospect that, can get acclimated with the Wranglers and then
Mhm.
if they make the postseason, make the jump and potentially a draft pick because that is really where they need to start stockpiling and working from.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree there, and I think, all of those things there are things the Hurricanes would be willing to part with, honestly. I already mentioned Tavo, as far as, someone that's already on the NHL roster, and, as being a guy that could go to Calgary and just be ready to go immediately.
Mhm.
And then, he's also a guy, you mentioned about them wanting to develop young guys. Obviously, Tavo, can be a bit unemotional and just not like people.
Yeah,
Very antisocial
I
sometimes.
get
He's
it.
a great meme guy to have on your team. Um, but he's a guy that is obviously he still has gas left in the tank, of
Mhm.
course. But he's been around the league for a long time. He's won a Stanley Cup. He's had a lot of playoff success. So if you are wanting, to have someone there that can help and give that experience and that wisdom to younger guys, that could be really beneficial, because you also look at, who he has learned from on the Canes. He's learned
Mhm.
from Justin Williams, he's learned from Rod Brind'amour and Jordan Stahl. You look at these guys there and you see how it's helped him, Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian
Mhm.
Aho, and yet that could be a great thing to help the Flames long term, even after Tavo could be potentially done there.
Yeah, I think, again, that is something that I'm sure the Flames would explore because they are I hate calling players, like, placeholders because that
Yeah.
feels so, like, dehumanizing, but sometimes in the short term, that's what people are. You
Yeah.
are a placeholder until they find something within the system or in a trade, whatever,
Mhm.
to kind of take your spot. And I think with that kind of experience as a Stanley Cup champion, as someone who has had those deep playoff runs and comes from the Canes culture, that is something that Nick and I actually talked a lot about on Friday's episode was how important, you know, having a good locker room is and what makes a good locker room a good locker room. And I think plucking someone like Turbo would be great and
Mhm.
putting him there. So guys like Connor Zary, Jacob Pelletier, Dustin Wolf, Matt Coronado, Martin Pospisil can learn from.
Mhm.
And they do have that within their organization with Blake Coleman and Kadri, but what's one more?
Mhm. And then also you look at Tavo, and he is definitely a pass first guy, but
Mhm.
with that, he's also great at creating plays. And then when he does choose to actually shoot the puck, he's got a heck of a shot too. And he can rack up the goals when he wants to. It's just him not always wanting to.
That's yeah, and that I guess that's the downside too, because the Flames have so many players like that,
Mhm.
where it's not it wouldn't be beneficial to add, at least in my eyes, again, not a general manager. I could never be a general manager, but to have someone with basically just this same set of skills as the rest of your forward group that you're trying to improve. It's not unless you can truly get him to start shooting first
Mhm.
and change his game and teach an old dog new tricks. I don't know how realistic it would be.
Yeah, I definitely get that. I definitely think, regardless, I definitely think he would be on the table.
100%.
Because there's definitely some other guys as well that I'm, just kind of thinking of that could potentially be guys that get moved. I am going to look to see how old he is real quick. Um, he is 29 years old.
Mhm.
So he's definitely, got some age on him, but still some youth on him as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he's definitely one I would. He'd definitely be in the mix for a trade as well. And like I said, there's some other guys. One particular one, I don't know if it'd be as much of the case right now, simply, because seem to be going a little bit better now,
Mhm.
but definitely during the playoffs, he asked for a trade, and that is Jack Drury. Obviously, still really young, still
Mhm.
on his entry level deal. So he would be very cheap. He's centering the fourth line right now, but he's already asked for a trade recently. Obviously
And
that
in
was last
control.
playoffs. Yeah, so is that still there? He is getting more playing time than he was last year, but we kind of already have that stuff there. Obviously, we know absolutely nothing about what was going on in the locker room earlier this season, but with him already being kind of frustrated, maybe, just the way things were going at the time, that was just adding to it.
Mhm.
So he's a guy I could definitely see being on the market. And really just kind of anyone with the exception of Aho, Sveshnikov.
What about
eh,
fast?
yeah, Jesper Foss, I definitely could see he does have a no trade clause.
So
Um, so that could be tricky. But I do think with the right deal, that could be one. There's really not a lot of untouchables, honestly. Aho, Sveshnikov, I would throw Jarvis in there and
Mhm.
then Slavin
Yeah.
and maybe Kochetkov as well. Really just kind of see. I think there would definitely be guys that would be harder to get, like Kokengemi. Obviously, his deal, but they're kind of invested in him long term. Natchez, I could see being a guy that could be a little difficult to get. He has had a bit of a rough season this year, but just long term, their outlook for him. Stahl, obviously, yes, he's old, but he is their captain. He's a guy that has been with the franchise for over a decade. A guy like that, you're always going to have issues trying to get. And that, honestly, if he would even want to go, because he has a modified no trade deal. Same
Yeah.
with Martinook, Fost as well, already mentioned. Um, Burns, I think, would be difficult to get. And then Orlov simply, they just gave
Money.
him such a fat deal, like they're not
Mhm.
going to move him yet unless you are offering like Connor McDavid.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But I think it's time to talk about what the Canes might want in return here.
Yes.
Coming up right after this. But first, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite apps that I use whenever I am looking to get into a sporting event, concert, theater, comedy show last minute, and that would be Gametime. You shouldn't have to worry when you buy tickets for your next big event. Gametime is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all sports, music, comedy, and theater events near you. They have killer last minute deals with all in pricing, views from your seat, and the best price guarantee. I really like that I can just see my view from my seat, especially when I'm going to new venues or if it's a concert, there's a stage, or if it's a hockey game, whatever the case may be, it's truly beneficial. So there's not going to be some sort of obstructed view, and
Hmm.
you can get those all-in prices to show your total up front, so you're getting a great deal before you even check out. And I like that you have the opportunity to buy tickets after the event start. The event starts. They sell tickets up to an hour after, and it is the perfect place to find last-minute seats. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
Absolutely. I love using Game Time.
Love it.
But getting into the Canes and who they would want in the Flames, there's two names that stick out to me, really. We've kind of already mentioned one. That is, of course, Elias Lindholm coming back to the Hurricanes. Obviously, got sent over years ago in the Dougie Hamilton trade. Has since blossomed into Really, really good player. And his name has kind of been one that's floated around for, it feels like, the past year and a half,
Mhm.
as one that could come back to the Hurricanes. Um, yeah, it's obviously a totally different regime now as opposed to when he was originally here. So that could, help in that regard of him wanting to come back, because I think he may have a modified no trade clause. I'm not 100%
I
sure
don't
there.
think so.
Yeah. I couldn't remember with him, with his deal. There's so many guys that do and don't.
Yeah.
Um, but he's obviously one that I think a lot of folks would want to see. I think he would fill a really good spot. And as we talked about already, Teuvo Teravainen, I think he would be a guy that would be part of the deal that
Mhm.
would get Lindholm. So you figure, that spot on that first or second line right now, it's been the first. Lindholm would then just kind of slot in there. And on right side, I believe, he normally plays center though, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, that ain't gonna change. That would be like the one tricky thing. Um, if you're wanting him on the top line, you're not moving Sebastian Aho. That's just not gonna happen.
And
Um,
he is a second line center on
mhm.
any good team.
Yeah, I
So
definitely could see Kokiniemi getting moved. Whether it be them, it should, Jack Drury be a part of that trade. You kind of move Stahl down to your fourth line center, Kokiniemi to your third, and then put Lindholm in on your second. I could see that being the case. Or Kokiniemi has experience playing on the wing, so you could just move him there and move Lindholm there in the second line center position. And then, of course, you can obviously, flip in and out too. Kokiniemi, it is getting better at that role. Still has a ways to go though. But yeah, Tavo would totally be a part of that deal. Um, Drury, I could see being in it as well, because that's definitely going to be a deal where they have to send multiple pieces.
yeah.
They definitely have to send an NHL player. I feel Tavo really feels like the obvious pick there. You did mention Pesci earlier. Teravainen and Pesci seems like it could be a bit steep.
It does.
Um, but I definitely feel like Teravainen seems like the better. It's like Teravainen and Drury, or Pesci and Drury. I could see
Mhm.
that. Or, of course, draft pick. I think that's something that would always be on the table. A particular prospect that I felt, could be in need of a change of scenery would be Ryan Suzuki. He's kind of been one that he's dealt with injury a lot.
Mhm.
So I do give him that. But he's a first round pick, just a handful of years ago, and he has since gotten passed by a lot. In terms of like, oh, it's time to call this guy up. He's passed over. If you remember back in like the COVID shortened season, like not the one that got cut short because of the bubble.
With the
The
56.
one, yes, that one when they had to have like half their team be an AHL roster. He was not one of them. He was cut, or he was initially on the bubble roster, but he was since flipped out with someone else. I forget who it was. But he's just been one that has gotten passed over a lot. Again, I know
Mhm.
injuries with him. So I could definitely see him just needing a change of scenery, go somewhere else where he could get more of an opportunity. Could that be Calgary? I don't know. But what would Calgary want in return for Elias Lindholm?
That's a really good question. I think it would be a roster player with a high-end prospect, or a roster player with a draft pick with or prospect and 2 draft picks.
Mhm.
I I am not good at evaluating trades. I just know
Yeah.
that trading Elias Lindholm to the Columbus Blue Jackets for the 3rd overall pick was never going to happen. So, and I
Mhm.
think the biggest thing for a trade to come to fruition for Lindholm is he wants the verbal agreement that they're going to extend him.
Mhm.
Has he come down from wanting $9 million? I don't know. That
Yeah.
is an absurd amount of money for him, even after he had that, I think it was like 88-point season or something 2 years ago. He hasn't been able to repeat that, and he's not going to unless he finds, those 2 elite wingers again. But
Mhm.
I think realistically, Carolina would be an attractive destination for him. I know that he obviously was drafted by them, played there for a little bit, wasn't there for too long before getting shipped off to Calgary, but I know that there are personal aspects to why he might also choose somewhere that is not as uh, isolated and cold as Calgary.
Mhm.
So I
Yeah.
get it. There's no hard feelings there, and that's the thing. Like, there's the human element to this, and Flames general manager Craig Conroy touched on this in an interview last week, when he talked about, I want to do right by my guys. I don't want either side of this trade to feel like he's playing a gentleman's game. He's being
Mhm.
maybe a little too considerate sometimes,
Mhm.
but whatever gets the trade done.
Yeah, honestly, I think the main issue there with Lindholm would be, like you mentioned, the money. They would have to. I'm on cap friendly as right now on the other monitor. Um, as of right now, with their current roster, they have like projected 1.4 million in cap space, so they would have to move a Teravainen or a Pesci, to make that space. But then, like you said, the long term agreement, would that be something the Hurricanes would, one, be willing, and then two, be able to do long term? That's just something we'd have to wait and see. I know the cap is going up this offseason, and then it's going to continue going up. So
Mhm.
long term, yeah, they probably could do it, but would they be able to, this
Right
offseason?
now.
You know,
Right. Yeah.
but the other one, that I did want to touch on was
Mhm,
not one that I initially thought about, but has since kind of gained some traction. Like I
mhm,
mentioned, at the top of the episode, with Freddie Anderson's health issues, Auntie Rata, we call him Father Finn, but Father Time catching up to Father Finn. He's on the wrong side of 30.
mhm.
Injuries catching up. Already had a AHL stint this season, and now Kochekov being out indefinitely. The Hurricanes already needed to get a goalie at the deadline, but yesterday, Kevin Weeks, decided to add some fuel to goalie trade fire, and that was tweeting out a picture of Jacob Markstrom with an eyeball emoji. Um, and the Hurricanes could definitely use a good goalie right now.
He has
What
a
would
full no movement clause.
Yeah, that's a interesting one.
Yeah.
Um, and one that I again, like you said, there's full no trade clause. So I don't think it's gonna happen. I just kind of fun to talk about, honestly.
Yeah.
Because it is something the Hurricanes needed. The other, well, there were two other guys. One, Elvis Merzlikins of Columbus. I think that one could be a possibility. We'll
Yeah.
see. And then the other, probably not a possibility now, because he also got hurt in the same game, and that was John Gibson
I
from
just
Anaheim. So I
It was
don't see
one
that one
after
happening.
another last week, and then, like,
Yeah.
4 in the same game.
Yes. Don't get me wrong. I like John Gibson. I'd love to see him in a Hurricanes uniform. Yeah, but I don't see that happening now because I don't know how long he's going to be out.
Yeah.
I think Merzlik is definitely the most likely, but Markstrom, that's an interesting one. Yeah, with that no move clause. He is also 33, carries a $6 million cap hit. So it's not like he would be a rental chasing a ring type
Mhm.
thing. Um, so he's also one I definitely would see Carolina having to give a pretty penny in return
Yeah,
as well. It definitely would not come cheap at all. I think that would be one. Like we said already, Teravainen's going to be in that trade.
right.
Pesci would be in the trade. Shea potentially, Drury, Suzuki, other prospects like
Your
that.
whole roster.
Yeah, it would have to be. Carolina would definitely have to give a lot.
It would be a
Um,
haul.
yeah, I definitely would see Teravainen or Pesci, then along with maybe Brady Shea, Jack Drury, draft pick, something like that. It would be a lot that they would have to give up. Um,
I think you could
unless
throw a third
the
team in there.
Yeah, it would be a lot unless there was just like some sort of crazy falling out between the Flames and Markstrom where it was best for them, like, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, just throw their hands up, part ways,
Mhm.
send him where he would want to go pretty much. Oh, I
Yeah.
want to go to Raleigh,
Right.
and, do that. But again, he's also 33 years old, $6 million cap hit. And you're kind of looking at Kochetkov taking the reins as the number one, probably when, well, I was originally going to say when this deal for Freddie Anderson is up, but, that's
It could be
super up in
sooner.
the air. Yeah, I just don't know what's going to happen there. It's looking like, all right, he's the third wheel this year. Antti Ranta had only signed the one, so Kochetkov is the number two next year, and then he takes over the number one following that. But there's no telling with that. But they are invested of him being the long term future, not a $6 million veteran goaltender at this point. And then that also kind of throws in with Merzlikis. He wants to be the starting goalie. And
His his player card is all in red. It is
yeah,
not
yeah,
no,
I mean, yeah, he's on Columbus. It's not necessarily the best situation to be in. And I think things could potentially improve just with having the Hurricanes defense in front of them. You look at,
right.
you know, a lot of the other guys that have played behind it and then left, Mrazek, Reimer, McElwain. Well, McElwain did win a Stanley Cup in Tampa, but Nedeljkovic, it pains me to say that one too, but you look at these guys that were great behind them, but then they go somewhere else where the defense isn't as good. It
Yeah.
hurts them, but you can also make the case there that playing behind them definitely helps those goalies as well improve. So, you know, could Merzlikins improve in Carolina? Maybe,
Get much worse.
yeah,
Respectful.
yeah, it'd be an interesting thing to see happen for them. But yeah, the Markstrom's trade, I don't see that happening. It's just fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Lindholm would be, the most realistic there. And
Mhm.
even still, the Hurricanes are going to have to play some cap gymnastics, for sure. Obviously, anything can happen. I say it all the time. Wayne Gretzky got traded. Anybody can get traded.
Yeah, no one's safe.
Yeah.
It's you you have to I mean, you're safe if you have a no movement and no trade clause and you don't wanna waive it, that's fine. I don't care,
Mhm.
I fully respect that decision. Um, but if they traded Jonathan Huberdeau, who
Mhm.
I thought was gonna be a Panther for life, but
Mhm. Yeah, they traded him, anything can happen. So
mhm,
we could be right on the money with these. We could be completely and totally off.
yeah, we'll have to
Ultimately,
revisit it.
yeah, ultimately we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Obviously, still a lot of hockey between now and the trade deadline, so anything can happen. As we're seeing unfold in real time, the Hurricanes goaltending is just getting more and more hurt. So anything can happen, but make sure you are following the Locked On Hurricanes along at LO_Hurricanes, myself at Jared Ellis _96, and Jess, where can everyone find you?
Yes, you can find me on X at Jess Belmosto. I don't really use the show's Twitter account, so just at
I don't
Jess
either.
Belmosto is the best place to find me. And of course on YouTube and wherever you listen to Locked On Hurricanes, just Locked On Flames.
Yep. And of course, you guys as well, wherever you listen to Locked On Hurricanes, you can go listen to Locked On Flames as well. And we will talk to you in the next episode, folks.